I would
Well,
regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
We have one of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game, and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Ekwonu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold, or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today, you can't get rid of him.
Right, it's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Hey, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
You know, what would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.
What are we supposed to say? We all look to each other for answers in times like this. What are we supposed to say? We got people blaming this and that. And again, oh my God, the headache of the nonsense that's going on in our fan base. Blaming certain things without any thought, because all people care about more than they like their own team is being right about something or wrong, proving other people wrong about something. It's gross. It's absolutely gross. We take the biggest loss of the season. And look, here's why. I know that mathematically we're not out of the playoffs. And if Chargers lose and this New England loses, people are going to say, oh, but we're still in it because we just have to do this. It doesn't matter. I've been watching football for over 40 years. You don't win Super Bowls because other teams back you into the playoffs. Like if that's what we have to hope for, what does the playoffs mean if you don't have hope of winning? What does it really mean to go into the playoffs because other teams are bad? Is that really what we're after right now? I guess this year, the rebuilding year, we could be cheap and chimp and sit there, whatever, chumps who sit there and hope that we get into the playoffs because other teams lose. Doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care. Because we don't deserve it. Just because, if we win the last 3 games, I guess we deserve it, right? If we win the last 3 games, I guess we deserve it. And I'll be happy no matter what, whether we get in or not, because if we win the last 3 games, that would mean we're 10 wins. And hey, before the year started, you tell me 10 wins, I'm rolling on the ground crying in joy. So does it look like we're going to win 10 games? How? I hear Mike White's out for the whole year now. So we don't have a good quarterback. I mean, we might have someone, I don't want to offend anyone. We might have somebody who's a good quarterback someday. But right now, not a very good quarterback. Not awful today, but not very good. Not good enough to win or be taken seriously by anybody in the league. A horrible coach as far as game time management and situational management. We'll talk about that, but awful. Awful. Like as if he did learn nothing from his first season as a head coach. We'll talk about what he did there. We'll talk about all those things. But look, the only thing that we have to say is we're better than we were last year. The future, I don't know, the future. What was the worst thing we said could happen last year? Like in the beginning of the season? That, yeah, we're improved, but we don't have our quarterback. So the worst has happened in that sense. I mean, it could have been worse that we didn't improve and we didn't have a quarterback. So it's not the worst it could be. But I don't know who's starting at quarterback next year, and that's a problem. Anyway, let me bring in my brother, because this is going to be double chaos today. Please welcome back to the stream, Lee Cravat.
And you need someone to, disagree with you.
Yeah. I really can't listen to someone tell me that today wasn't a big loss, though, and that you're sitting here thinking we're a playoff team.
Well, how could I tell you that? I mean, it was a huge, huge loss. I was up 2 hours this morning from 3 to 5 a.m. imagining winning and what great position we would be in because Buffalo did their job. and beat Miami, and we would have I felt like either New England or Chargers would lose, and if we swept, we were in all the way. I was so excited. I was imagining the conversations that we would hear. So I'm not going to disagree with you on that. We just have a different temperament about these things, although this game was crushing. The whole game, I felt that we should have been one step ahead of where we were. So I was never happy during the entire game.
Yeah. I mean, look, when we scored that final touchdown, we went up by 4. I was thinking, okay, we have a good chance to steal a win.
Yeah.
We have a good chance to steal a win, but that's like a very small amount of the game that we got to feel good, feeling like we were in a position where we could win the game.
I was nervous even then. I got to tell you, I was nervous even then because it just didn't feel right. I can't explain it. It felt like so much of the game, I felt like we were being outplayed that I couldn't even imagine. I started to lose faith. I don't know. Usually I have great faith.
Yeah. It was hard to have a lot of faith. The offensive line. I mean, we talk about it all the time. I mean, we see a lot of some people will talk about you get your thoughts together on the offensive line, because we all talked about how you don't have an NFL football team if you don't have an offensive line, and we could talk about this. And when
but I think I will have different opinions about you about things like Zach Wilson and about Saleh, slightly different. I don't want to get you arguing yet.
No, I'm not. I'm not that. I mean, I don't know. You're assuming what I'm feeling about Zach, and right now, this is not about a quarterback. You know what I mean? This is not a quarterback. I mean, like I may feel that whether or not we could be a Super Bowl team with this quarterback or with this level of play is different than this game, because this game is not about pointing the finger at one person. There's a bunch of things about and problems, I think, that have been uncovered with this team. There's things that have to be fixed.
Right. Well, you're not gonna be a playoff team, I don't think, or certainly not a Super Bowl team or a division winner if you can't win a game like this. In other words, we went up, so we in essence had the game, right? We just had to hold them one more series, and we couldn't do it. And then we had a chance to come back, and we mismanaged that. So we aren't the kind of team that can win yet. We don't know how to win. We're in all these games now. And that's why I'm excited compared to last season.
Yeah.
But we don't know how to win these games.
But there's things that have to be fixed. Like, we're stuck with Laken Tomlinson another year, and he's garbage. And we're paying him like $10 million or something, or 11, 12 million. We're paying a ton of money, and he is an absolute disaster. This is a guy who for years was in San Francisco, a Pro Bowl level guard, gets his first big contract, and apparently is done. I mean, because how do you explain same system? He didn't have to learn a new system, nothing new to learn. Comes in, it's the same exact offense, the same exact blocking scheme, and suddenly he's a below average guard, and he was trash today.
Well, I think we could say beyond a doubt that the offensive line is not what it needs to be. I mean,
we need changes.
It's taken some injuries, it's taken some hits this year, but it certainly is not what it needs to be. No doubt. Certainly in its current configuration. I totally agree on that. No quarterback has had any time at all. And, I'm an OL person. I've always believed, that an offense, if you fix the OL, you could take any NFL receivers and any NFL level quarterback, and they'd be very, very good if you had an OL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think Billy is saying this right. There's lots of failures today. Lots of failures. So, okay. So
here's a bright spot. I just want to say a bright spot. I know it felt like the defense wasn't playing that well, but the Lions score 30 points all the time. And really that punt that was returned, that was 7. And, other than that, they didn't, we really held them. I thought it would be very hard to hold them to 20, and we did. and we almost held them to less. I mean, it wasn't even the defense. So there was some defensively, there were some great things in there.
Yeah, a lot of people saying the defense choked and let us down. I don't understand that. I understand that one play, but people again about learning about football, and I hope people come and want to learn about football. Your defense, when they're on the field so much, part of your defense is a good offense. Like the offense hurt the defense. Because the defense to only give up 20 points, 13 points, because the punt return is not on the defense.
Yeah, not on the defense.
But the defense gave up 13 points to a team that averages 30 points a game. It's one of the hottest offensive teams. So it's not the defense.
And the defensive line didn't really pressure Goff much. It really shows how strong our secondary is.
Right.
Secondary was so strong.
And how important Q Williams is, right? Yeah. Quinnen Williams is so important to this team.
To pressuring the quarterback.
We're not talking about the best defensive player on our team. We're talking about top 3 defensive player in the NFL. So when you take that piece out, you saw that it's going to affect. But
he makes everybody else look better though when he's in there, right? They have to focus on him. Other people can do more.
But they held the Lions to 13 points.
I know. I'm saying good things.
They did their job. And we've seen a million times, I've seen in the NFL, 4th and inches. And if you don't stop them, it's a touchdown because you're lining everybody up. They did a crazy, risky play, and give them credit. We did what we're supposed to do. We lined everybody up pretty much. We had a couple of guys back. They executed the play. That could happen against any defense that's lined up to stop 4th and inches. But
it was a big mistake. It was one of the mistakes that cost us the game. There were a bunch, but it was. I still love our defense.
Right. It was one play, but it wasn't even the players. The coach calls the play. Right. The coach lines them up that way.
Yeah, but I think there was there was a lot of shifting to cover their star player who rotated. Right. So they designed a play to fool our defense in motion. Like the motion of our defense was following a completely different play. Nobody held where they were.
Right. And it's like yes, the line didn't get sacks or whatever. Like I see someone complaining we didn't get sacks. It doesn't matter. We gave up 13 points to an offense that's an elite offense that scores over 30 points a game. And we gave up 13 points. Our defense was not bad. Our defense, there's no way anybody could say our defense was bad. It was not bad.
Overall, you can't blame the defense. But more pressure with Q in there, or that not getting fooled by that play, we still could have won.
Right, but the point is our defense gave up 13 points in spite of the fact that our offense screwed them over and put them on the field way too much.
So are we agreeing with each other?
Yeah.
Defense very good.
I'm talking to the chat. There are people that insist it was the defense. There was no pressure. It's such nonsense because we held them to 13 points. The defense, if the defense played like this every single week, we're a Super Bowl team. Like all we need is an offense. Like this was not the defense. The one good thing that we had this entire game, the only thing that was good today was our defense as far as points given up. That's the only thing that went well today.
But if we could have gotten pressure at the line, okay, you're going to agree with this, they wouldn't even have scored that much.
Right. I mean,
they did great. They did great, but pressure.
Did great. It should have been a blowout. We should have lost by 40 points. Like other teams get blown out if they don't have such a good defense. Our defense kept us in this game. The only reason this was a game was because our defense was able to constantly stop them. And what happened in the last few minutes? Okay, they broke. That happens to every defense. Find me a defense this year that doesn't eventually give up a touchdown sometimes. I mean, it's like so stupid. They gave up 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. And one of the field goals was after a turnover where Zach threw that interception and they were in field goal territory. So really, they gave up 10 points because you
had a great goal line stand, goal line stand.
So you can't even put the 3 points for the field goal, for one of the field goals on the defense, because the defense got them 1, 2, 3 and out after the interception.
That's right.
So that's not, so really we're saying it wrong. The defense gave up 10 points.
10 points.
They only had 2 real scoring drives. They only had 2 drives that led to points. You can't count the field goal where they got the interception and then went 1, 2, 3 and out and kicked the field goal.
But you understand it feels different because it was that we had the lead when it happened. It feels that they let us down, but you're 100% right. That was after an entire game of getting abused and standing up tall, having to play way too much, and then they got trick played out of it. Otherwise, I think they could have held, because they needed a touchdown, Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not the defense, although we could have won if Q Williams was in the game. It wasn't injured.
Yeah, or the line play a little bit better.
Both things could be true.
Yes,
both things
are
could be
true.
That
Both
our defense played well, but also having Q Williams and getting more pressure could have won us the game.
Yeah.
But the question is, should the defense have to play better than the way they played for the Jets to get a win at home?
That's an obvious no. It should have been enough.
Right.
A little bit more, you would have won that game.
But it should have been enough.
Yeah.
So we talked about the defense now. We talked about the offensive line. Again, the offensive line, the run blocking was atrocious. Laken Tomlinson was as bad as I seen an offensive lineman against the run B. He wasn't even there. It was like we could have really, we were even talking about, do you bench him? Do you bench a guy that's so worthless? And here's the thing that really bothers me. I don't know how many people saw this, but Laken Tomlinson was on Twitter this week. This is no lie. Blasting out tweets with his stats saying, please vote for me and put me in the
I saw that. I saw that.
He was actually asking Jet fans to put him in the Pro Bowl. Put him in the Pro Bowl? I want to put him on the bench. And this guy wants me to vote for him for the Pro Bowl.
Bench bowl. He could be in the bench bowl.
Look, I love my Jets, but when it's time to vote for the Pro Bowl, I have some integrity.
Jimmy, remember when we used to go to the Mets? They were the last place team by 30 games out, and we'd still vote for every Met.
Right, and I wouldn't take any of those votes for those Mets back. But I say that my limits to being like my ethics and my integrity go only would never let me vote Laken Tomlinson into the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
He is the sore spot of the team. He is awful. And the worst part about him is that he's costing us so much money and taking the opportunity cost of his contract that could go to a real player. This guy is a waste of space. We could have been better with anybody else in there.
Let's move on to another topic. We agree on that one.
Let's go to the situational coaching at the end of the game. Let's go to had 3 timeouts with 1:50.
I was shocked.
We were down. We go down to like a minute. I forgot what it was exactly. How much I think he let it go down from like 50 seconds or a minute and 5 seconds to like 35 seconds or something. Basically, he let 25 seconds come off the clock for no reason. We had 3 timeouts, and we completed the pass to the middle of the field.
A very nice pass, by the way.
And he wasted 25 seconds for no reason.
I was screaming.
I know. So here we go. We're lucky we even got the final play for the field goal because it could have been 0, right? It was lucky that we happened to have 1 second left. But the realistically is we could have had 25 seconds on the clock when we made that final completion to Elijah.
Yeah.
We could have called a timeout at that, and we called the timeout. We would have 2 left.
And we'd have the first down.
We could have, we had the first down. We could have ran 2 more plays to get closer to change that entire field goal attempt. We could have even
score a touchdown.
We could have taken 1 shot towards the end zone, maybe get a penalty, maybe get a flag. The point is, there's no excuse for Saleh not calling that timeout. The only reason it happened, there was no other thinking. It was one reason and one reason only: inexperience.
Yes,
and failure. Like he failed to do what a head coach.
I can't disagree with what you said. I cannot disagree with it, but I can say this is a guy who's never been in this situation. Like, maybe with Flacco, right? Or maybe against the Steelers. I'm super let down, but I think, I don't hate Saleh because he's done a great job with the players and a great job putting the team together. I really think there's a lot he's done right. I don't think he knows how to manage the play clock at the end. And I don't think his quarterback knows how. So you got two people really responsible that don't really know how to manage it.
Yeah, but in this case,
Yeah,
because Zach is a young player,
I agree.
he's not allowed to call a timeout. He's not supposed to.
Saleh failed on this.
It's right. It's up to his coach.
He
Because
definitely
even
failed.
Zach said it. They asked Zach about the timeouts. He didn't throw anyone under the bus. He simply said, like, he made it very clear without pointing a finger. He said, I'm not in charge of that. My job is to just run the plays. Like, he made it very clear without saying. He didn't say, oh, that's the head coach's job. I'm not allowed to call a timeout. He simply said, I don't know about timeouts. I just call the plays, which is basically, you were asking the wrong person. I'm not allowed to call a timeout. It's only the head coach that gets to call a timeout.
Absolutely. And I could, when Zach threw those interceptions against, I think it was New England in the first time they faced them, I did this video where I said, they're going to sit down with him and bash his head in, not to just chuck those passes. Like, if they're out of bounds, throw them out of bounds. You know what I mean? You can't just chuck blind, although he did that at least once today. But Coach Saleh is going to look at the tape and he's going to bang his head against the wall. I'm stating now he's going to take responsibility at the next press conference and say that he blew it. And I think it'll stay with him his career. So my hope, at least, is that this never happens again with him.
Well, we've got to hear him say he blew it, because today,
Yeah.
and fair enough, he said, I got to look at the tape or whatever. So he is yet, like, so if he doesn't take accountability and makes an excuse, I'm terrified.
But he will. He will take accountability.
I know, but I'm saying, if he doesn't, tomorrow morning, they're going to ask again. Believe me, our media doesn't miss out on anything.
He will take accountability.
Yeah, they're going to ask again. They're going to say, did you, like, I know Rich Cimini, he's going to say, did you have time did you have time to look back? And we'd like to know about that timeout. Would you call it now?
I'm willing to bet you $10. Check this out. That
I'm not going to bet against it. I'm just
listen. No, you don't hear the bet yet, buddy. You don't hear the bet yet. I'm going to bet you $10 if you want that he says it was his fault before the question comes in. That he throws it out as part of his prepared statements.
That would be fascinating. Although he usually just starts with the injury report and starts fielding questions.
He still will, but he didn't with the Zach thing. He goes, "Hey, I want to get this out of the way. I want to talk." When he said that Zach would be starting, he said, "I want to get this right, and I want to come out."
You think he's going to say, "I want to get this out of the way. I screwed up by not calling a timeout"?
I think he's going to say, "Yeah, he's going to say, I want to take responsibility for that." I do. I think he's going to stand up and do that.
I hope so. I'm not betting for or against it, but I could only hope for it.
I'm just saying, because I think he's a real good coach, and I think he'll learn from this.
Here's the thing, Joe Grant. I agree that the majority of the team is ahead of schedule by a year. There's no question about that fact. We're not supposed to be in the situation we're in, or we didn't think we would be, at least most of us. Here's my problem. We are not a year ahead of schedule, I don't think, in the most important position on the team. And I am not attacking or hating on Zach Wilson. And I really don't want to be like, if someone calls me a Zach hater, I'm just going to block them forever, because I really have no patience for it. Because, I mean, we have to be able to talk honestly about Zach Wilson without some bozo saying we're being haters. Okay. I am not blaming this loss completely on Zach Wilson. Could he have played better? Of course. You can't sit there and say the defense could have played better to win us the game, but Zach couldn't have. Give me a break. Could he have played better? Yes. Is this game an example of me thinking Zach can't be the quarterback of blah, 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 or he's not a good quarterback? No. No. This is not the game where I'm pointing fingers or saying, that's it, Zach's not our quarterback.
Jeremy, I don't know. I'll let you stomp on me on this one a little bit, but I have to say, from my perspective, Zach did things that we really haven't seen from him before, that we thought we would see from him. And he did like planned roles, which I thought we would see more of.
Yeah.
Unanticipated planned roles that were excellently called. They had the exact effect they were supposed to have. And I don't think you can do them every time, but going left, then going right, then going straight up, I think that confuses the defense. Zach has that capability. He ran sometimes. I mean, I think that's exactly the kind of thing that Zach Wilson could do while he's still younger, while he's developing. I wouldn't put that. I expected him to be able to do that at the end of last year. I still say he's behind, but I actually have a little bit of hope now. Okay, I have a little bit of hope now.
Maybe a little bit of hope, but one thing I mean, like here, like the reality is because I mean, there's different levels of people. There are maniacs out there that's saying he was great, blah blah blah. Okay, look, I think anybody that's being reasonable at all would agree. Okay, that the way he was today was better. He definitely did some exciting things. It's not good enough. Like, in other words, to be an NFL quarterback, if he's not going to get better.
Right,
Like,
he underthrew, he chucked some
quarterback. You can't have a 50-50 quarterback.
Yeah, no, but some of the passes though were like hope passes. You know what I mean? So that hurts your stats.
Yeah, but every quarterback has.
But I'd rather look at when you're ahead in the game, you don't have those. So game you're behind, you have those.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, it's like I can't every single game he plays point out the drop passes.
No. I'm not asking you to. I'm saying that until you do that analysis, you don't really know exactly. But what you can say is that a lot of his big passes were still underthrown. Yes. He still threw up a prayer or two that happened to be caught or went incomplete. He still threw high, and it was super dangerous and scary. So I'm saying the guy still has some problems that have got to go. You can have one or two of those a game. You can't have 7 of those a game. And because those are very scary plays. There's just too many of them. We were lucky there was only 1 interception.
Yeah.
It could have easily been 2 or 3.
So the reality is did he come back and play better than when we last saw him? Yes. Did he play well enough and get me excited to say, oh my God, if all he has to do is play like this forever and I'm thrilled and happy? No. So he's like, so there's more to go. Look, he's the guy for the rest of the year. There's no more Mike White. So he's going to have 3 more games. And if he doesn't get better in these 3 games, and I know it's a crazy thing to say that we have to judge everything by 3 more games, but we're not. We're taking all of his body of work from before, and we're going to now pile on the last 3 games and say, okay, he had his comeback game. He played. He threw, 30 passes or what it was. Now, or 35 passes. So there's no, give him some time to get back in rhythm. Now he's back in. He got playing it. There's no excuse on Thursday. Thursday he has to come in. And we have to see growth from him. We have to. Because if we don't, at some point, everyone has got to agree. It doesn't matter. Only one person has to agree, and that's Joe Douglas.
Yes.
But at some point, I mean, just as a fan base, it'd be nice to agree. At some point, if he doesn't get any better, I mean, we have to rethink the quarterback position for next year. We can't go into next year if he doesn't get better. We can't take a chance that we're going to waste another season on somebody who's not good enough.
So we're doing something that's very hypothetical. We're saying, what if this, what if that in the next 3 games? I think the Jets are kind of lucky here. I don't want to say we fans are lucky because we don't make the decision. I think the Jets organization is going to have a super difficult decision about what to do at the quarterback position. We saw some pretty good play from Mike White. We didn't see him blow it really at all. We saw the guy play well. So you have some Mike White potential. Now you saw Zach step up a half a step. Not to where we want him to be, but certainly better than he was. So, again, it's hypothetical. What happens the last 3 games is monumental. Because they have a problem with Mike White. They have no ownership of him. So they have to really figure out what to do there. They have to figure out what to do with Zach. Do you draft someone behind Zach? And so, I mean, this is just a crazy difficult situation, Jeremy. Even if you were the owner or coach or the advisor to the owner, you would have a difficult time. It's a tough decision.
It's a very tough decision because we're not getting enough of a sample of anyone. Someone's asking in the chat, I heard that Mike White's out for the rest of the year, or at least to the last game of the year, which means they're probably not going to use him because you're not going to bring him in the last game of the year.
Right.
So, yeah, I heard that the rib injury is something where he's not going to be able to come back. That's what I'm hearing. So, so that's when I say that Mike White's done. I'm not saying it based on choice. I'm saying the word is that he's done. So here's the problem. So now Mike White, we don't have enough of a sample to know if he's the answer. right? We were going to have, if he stayed healthy, we would have a much bigger sample. Now we don't. We don't have him under contract. I think this hurt Mike White much worse than it hurt anybody else of all the parties involved. Because guess what? Do you think any team is going to pay him a big contract for 3 games? For 3 games?
I think that he is going to get a much bigger contract than he was getting cut by the Jets every time they had a little quarterback douse, or like, could this guy play? Like, he was potentially cut, dropped. So that's not going to, the Jets may not be able to come to terms with him, and he's going to test the free agency market. I think it's almost guaranteed that he's going to check.
Right, but I think
check out the free agency market, and he's going to.
The thought that he's going to land a $15 million a year contract is dead. He's not.
I think he's going to go 10 plus.
I don't know who. What team is going to say, "Oh, you had 3 games where you look good"? And
How much are you willing to pay? How much are you going to pay Bridgewater?
I don't know. What does he get? $5 million?
How
much do you think they pay backup quarterbacks?
What? I think the good ones get around 10.
No, we pay about $5 million. You like Joe. I mean, even this year, like him and Joe, I think Joe got 3 or 4, and Joe's horrible. But I don't think you get I don't think teams blow $10 million on their cap on a backup quarterback.
Well,
rare.
I think he'll get 10. That's another thing we can.
But who? What team would do that? What team? We could literally go through the NFL. What team? The worst teams are going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, what team? You got to think it's not just what he deserves. Oh, he's a $10 million quarterback. Maybe we'll pay him $10 million because he's worth it to us in our situation. But I'm just trying to think of a team. Like Buffalo's not, they got Josh Allen. Miami's not, they got Tua. I mean, we can literally go through the list of teams. The Giants aren't. Are the Giants going to say, "Oh, we'd rather have him than Daniel Jones"? No.
Well, I was under the impression that a good backup that you would trust to keep the season going would get 10. But we'll see.
Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, there's someone saying that Teddy Bridgewater gets $6.5 million from Miami, and that's a guy who was starting last year for Denver. So I mean, so I'm underestimating how much they get. Inflation.
And I'm overestimating.
Right. I think that we're somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's 8. So the bottom line is,
you would agree he's gonna get picked up.
Someone's getting him. He's going to get a job. I don't know.
Last time he didn't. Right. Last time we were able to get him back.
Right. I even think there are 5 or 6 teams, including us, where he can even compete for a starting job, because you might have a team that's going to be drafting a quarterback that might say, "Hey, we might need a bridge. The guy we draft might not be ready yet. Mike White, that guy looks like a guy we can roll with a little bit until the rookie is ready, in case the rookie comes into camp and it doesn't look good yet."
So what we could agree is that that he is going to get millions more than he would have if he didn't get the opportunity. Those 3 games got him millions of dollars.
Those 3 games raised his price, but I'm just saying from his perspective, if he would have had a chance to finish the season and win 3 out of 4 games and we make the playoffs,
yes,
now he's talking 20+ million.
Right. And if he did horrible, if he started throwing interceptions, they figured him out. I don't think he would have. He would have sunk back into oblivion.
He sunk back to $2 million.
Now neither is now true. Now he's raised his price, and no one will get to see anymore. But except the Jets. The Jets will see more, because the Jets will see him in practice. The Jets know what he can do, and now they've seen him. So the Jets actually are in the best position to give him what he's worth. So there.
Yeah. So, okay. So going back to where this brings us.
You're laughing.
Like, what are because I really don't know what our options are.
Well, that's why I said the Jets organization's in a world of hurt.
Let's assume the most likely scenario that Zach plays like Zach, like he has so far. I mean, and there's no magical turnaround. He doesn't get worse. Let's say he doesn't get worse. He doesn't get better. Let's say he has a 55% completion rate. Let's say he has about an 85 quarterback rating. Throws a couple of touchdowns, a couple of interceptions. Let's say we just get the Zach we've been seeing. Are we going to go into next season thinking this is our guy?
I think if he has 3 more games like this one,
3 more games of missing targets overthrowing players, throwing the ball too hard, no touch on his passes, and mixed in amazing plays where he looks like freaking Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes.
I think that he is going to maintain, if he has 3 games like today, I hate to say it, Jeremy, I'm going to drive you nuts, but I think he's going to maintain the starting position theoretically going into training camp. And the Jets are potentially going to draft a quarterback to sit behind Zach just in case, or they're going to go out and get a Bridgewater type quarterback, or they're going to say White is actually good enough to be that backup quarterback again.
Mm-hmm.
If we have 3 games like today where he showed signs of, hey, that was a pretty good scramble throw, or rollout, and enough, although they weren't the greatest throws, but enough to keep that job into training camp. But then in training camp, things can change. Or if they can work out a deal, some kind of deal, like where they could trade him and get something, and at the same time get a decent starter that's out there, we could see something like that. But I think the starting assumption will be that they can't make anything like that happen. He'll have the job until they don't think he could do it.
No. Can you read this out for Sith Happens in your best Star Wars voice?
I find our lack of a win totally disturbing.
Totally. You read today, Ron.
Totally disturbing.
You're like me reading the ingredients of hot sauce. Okay.
I can't see up close with my glasses, so I can barely see.
So no more Berrios, replace it with Jeff Smith. Berrios is struggling.
He did miss a big one.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Berrios. I don't know what's going on. Ever since he had that drop in the end zone, ever since he had that drop, man, jeez, he's not the same guy. He looks. I mean, he's like. I think the second year of the contract is optional. I think we gave him $12 million for 2 years, but only $6 million guaranteed. I don't know if Berrios is going to even have a job at this point. Like, he's not looking very good on special teams. He better pull it together.
I like him. No magic happened. No magic. None.
No magic. I like him. But like when you take away that big punt return touchdown he had last year, and you take away good solid play from and catching the ball as a receiver, and suddenly $6 million seems really expensive.
Yeah. I don't.
For a gadget
if you
player.
said Mike's not worth 6, Berrios is not worth.
Right. I mean, based on the Berrios bar, you have to pay Mike White $15 million, right? I mean, you have to.
So Berrios is overpaid right now, but that could be renegotiated too. But why? We're pretty rich in receiving.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but he's got to get it together. I really liked him, and it's only like 2 or 3 games, but it's disturbing because you see how much it brings him to earth. Like, people last year were saying we should pay him $10 million if we have to. Do they feel that way now? I mean, he got 1 return touchdown. He's a pretty good returner. Okay, $10 million. Like, people have to understand the cap, how many players we have to pay. Like, you can't just throw around money and just like disintegrate $10 million of your cap on a guy like Berrios. And that's why I was very happy when they got him for $6 million. $6.5 million, but now I'm questioning it. Like, and
now it's not clear this team needs him.
Right.
This team now needs him,
especially because so many of those plays, like they could have ran to Elijah Moore, and today they did.
Yes.
And Jeff Smith is free. Pretty much league minimum. Zach is way too inconsistent for NFL quarterback at this point. Got to move on. Well, look, I know people are going to feel that way. Like, that's going to be the question, right? There's going to be a lot of people, and we're beyond the whole, are you a Zach hater or a Zach lover? It's not about that anymore. Now it's a legitimate question to ask. Are you on the side of let's continue to develop Zach Wilson, and do we still hold out hope that he could develop and be an effective or even, and a really good quarterback in the league? Or is it time to move on? Because that brings on my next question.
Well, I want to answer that a little bit. I said if he does 3 games like the one he had today, I think he saved the job. Not that they won't be looking to maybe deal him or pick somebody else up, or draft somebody just in case that might have something that they see. But if he doesn't meet the bar he set today, if he actually gets worse, which is something we've seen from him, we've seen him get better and then get significantly worse, then he's done. So I'm saying he has to maintain what he did today, the next 3 games, to maintain that iffy first string slot.
Because here's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
This happens to be a very big year for quarterbacks in the draft. There's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out. So this is not a year where you have to pick in the top 10. This is a year where if you have the 20th pick in the draft, there's going to be a couple of guys that in some years would be a top 10 pick, but they're literally crowded in a year. You know, and there's teams, it's based on need there. How many teams need to draft a quarterback with their first round pick? So it's a reality. There's going to be quarterbacks in other years that would be top 10 picks available at 20, right? So the question is it going to be something the Jets consider? Are they going to consider drafting a quarterback with
They're
their
definitely
first round pick?
considering it. They're definitely considering it. They're looking right now. They're already looking. They're already looking for someone they think will slip to 20-ish that they think can be a starter in the NFL. They're already doing that.
Mhm.
There's no doubt. If we're talking about it, you know that Jets front office is every day. They're saying, oh, my God, we have a playoff team minus a quarterback. And, again, we make some mistakes. And minus a healthy offensive line. That offensive line stays a little healthier. Maybe we'd be there today.
Yep. Now, William Justice is already pointing out in his opinion, and these are all opinions, and they're fine. I'm not saying it's definitive or anything like that, because maybe we lose the Pittsburgh game. But I think William Justice feels, I'm guessing he assumes everything else stays the same. He feels that we win today and one of the New England games, which would make us, instead of 7-7, 9-5, totally different scenario. And, I can't say he's right 100% because it's a hypothetical. And I can't say he's wrong, you're crazy, you're out of your minds, because clearly Zach isn't playing better than Mike White was playing. So it's just one of those things that you could just feel that way. You could feel that way, but we don't know if it's true or not.
So let me ask a question then. We've already said, Mike White almost beat the Bills, right? Flacco threw an interception when he came in. When Mike White was out there at the end, he had broken ribs. And that really hurts. Even though he wasn't saying it, he was playing for millions of dollars, okay? He really had to come back out. And he still almost did it, right? He almost did it. So if we're saying he almost beat the Bills, he could have beat New England, he could have won today, doesn't that sound like a serious playoff team with Mike White? Isn't Mike White a playoff quarterback? If you're saying those things, you're saying Buffalo's a Super Bowl team, and the guy stood tall against them.
Yeah, it's hard to.
And we don't have an offensive line, and he stood tall against them.
It's hard to. It's not a big sample. The pain is the sample. It's just not.
I'm turning the screws on you, buddy boy.
The problem is that we don't have a big enough sample, because sometimes defenses see weaknesses in players and make adjustments. We see plenty of people get off to really good starts in their career, and then they can't get better, or they get worse. They regress because defenses learn how to play them. So it's hard because White was an overnight kind of thing. It was just 3 weeks, boom, and it was like, okay, is he good? Is he not good? Would he have adjusted to the adjustments? That's the question.
I understand, but if we're thinking that Buffalo had 2 weeks to look at him over, look at the tapes, figure him out as best as they could. I'm putting it out there. If we believe he could have won those games, then you have to start talking about him in a much better light.
Yeah.
Old Mike White. You got to talk about a better light. His future is going to be more bright.
Look,
he's got some fight.
I hope no matter what we do, no matter what happens, I hope Mike White is on our team next year. Because to me, that worst case scenario of Mike White is on our team next year, regardless of what happens around him, a draft, Zach, a trade, a free agent, whatever it is, to me, White being on the team means that we have a quarterback that can be a game manager and manage our team. Zach might develop into someone special and great, but he's not a game manager right now. Like, as well, he's not as good as Mike White in being a game manager. He just isn't. And Mike White gives us a guaranteed, well, not guaranteed because teams adjust, but he clearly could read the defense better. He clearly is faster in making his decisions, and he's clearly more accurate.
Look, when they ask him about plays, I can't get over this at the press conferences right after the game, not after he studied tape. He can tell you how each receiver was covered. He could tell you immediately his thought process, and the thought process is exactly the thought process he's supposed to go through. And he could tell you and then when you watch the tape, you could see his head doing that. It's exactly textbook quarterback. If he had, I saw this in the chat, if he had an offensive line, because he did that without a great offensive line, old Mike White. I mean, come on. I guess I'm agreeing with you. I don't want to call him a game manager. I think it's more than a game manager.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's just a term meaning we don't need you to be a hero. We just need you to call the plays, like run the plays.
But aren't the best quarterbacks mostly just game managers?
That's why I was saying it the other day. It's so stupid. Yeah. Like when people say 2 is good because of the system. Like, what does that mean? Every quarterback is in a system. That means every quarterback is good if they're in a system. I mean, you're trying to say that if he was in a different system, he wouldn't be as good?
Brady.
That's irrelevant.
Brady is mostly a manager of within the system. There are some quarterbacks that go outside the system. They make magic happen, right? Josh Allen did that, right? He didn't just play in the system. When the Jets got to him, he was able to run for some first downs, right? So that's an example of something. But many a quarterback have won Super Bowls without having that extra ability because they've had an OL. If you have an OL, you don't need that.
Right. So, yeah, it's to me, it's like again. So I go into saying, I hope Mike White is a Jet next year. That's what I'll say. No matter what we do, whether we're going to keep rolling with Zach, hope he develops, whether we draft someone else, whether we trade Zach. Joe in the chat keeps saying trade Zach. You know, JD is a magician. He'll get some value out of him. Whatever it is. I want Mike White to be a Jet because the locker room loves him, and to me, that's that's a digestible floor. Like, meaning if that's the worst it can be, knowing Mike White is the worst it could be because we signed him, so it can't get worse than that if he's healthy and signed. To me, that's digestible as a floor.
We can give him Berrios' salary and we're good,
right? I mean, we can give Berrios' salary, we're good. So as a floor price, at the quarterback position, not a horrible place to be. But as somebody who really wants to see us win a Super Bowl, maybe it could be why can't say it can't because he's only started 5 or 6 games. But it would be nice if we just would have a clear, great quarterback, wouldn't it? I mean, I've been waiting for 40 years. Can we just have a great freaking quarterback that doesn't get hurt? Freaking Vinny Testaverde goes down on a knee untouched. Freaking Chad Pennington, rotator cuff. Ken O'Brien, rotator cuff. Can we just have a quarterback?
Okay, if I'm a betting guy, Zach is not going to make it. I'm just going to be honest. However, the way Zach played today, where he was rolling and scrambling and getting free and pushing the ball for first down, a touchdown, a first down. I think he didn't get the touchdown. That was called back. But he had moves of that extra something type of a quarterback. He had that sidearm throw. I think it was to Berrios that Berrios dropped when the arms went up on the defense. He was able to throw too hard for Berrios. Whatever. You got to catch those. I'm sorry.
I love the whole too hard thing. They're freaking NFL football players.
Yeah. So to me, like, he showed flashes of things that's why we drafted him. That made me think, oh my God, he could be the guy. Now again, I don't know. If I'm betting, I'm not betting that he's the guy, because I think he has too many problems. However, he showed some magical stuff, like that last play or the second to last play, the play before the field goal attempt. He shook off the defense when he was in trouble. He came back. He knew what he had to do, and he got rid of that ball and found someone. I mean, that is an extra thing that we talk about. Zach has shown he has the extra. He just doesn't have the base. That's the problem.
Yeah. And here's a comment from Jay I've had up for a while. Man is the worst punter ever. I've been saying this all year. I have never. Green Bean loves this guy, so he keeps saying, "Well, what are you talking about? We've had worse punters." No, we haven't. I didn't want to argue with him on his channel. We've never had a punter this bad. I have never seen a punter this bad. I want to make this very clear. I have never seen a punter in a stay and keep his NFL job where every single game he has at least one punt where he screws his team over. I've never heard of it. You know how many years we had punters that just you never heard their name, you never thought about them? They just punted the ball every time they were given the ball, and they did it fine, whatever their average was, 43 yards, I don't care, whatever, and they were just a punter. This guy is the worst punter I have ever lived through as a Jet fan. Every fifth punt that he does, he shanks. Every fifth punt. This guy has hurt us more than any punter has ever hurt a team consistently over time that I've ever experienced. I have never experienced a punter hurt his football team this many times. I could point out so many. We can go through the tape of how many shank punts this loser has done, and why he has a job is shocking to me. He is the worst punter, and guess what? It cost us today. Twice it cost us. Once it cost us because if I know it was a tough situation. He was backed up in the end zone. But if he puts a 4.5, 45, 50-yard punt out of that end zone, it's not a touchdown return. Instead, he hits it 45 yards in a line drive into the chest of the returner, who was full speed when he caught it, and he returns it for a touchdown. I am so tired of this punter. He needs to go.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
It was amazing. Last year, for 3 games he was hurt, or 5 games he was hurt, we had this guy, Thomas Moristad, who was so much better. So much of a better punter. And now we're stuck with this loser, and I guarantee you this guy is gone at the end of the year. Otherwise, there's no way Joe Douglas is that bad. I mean, he's too good of a GM. There's too many good punters out there. There are so many punters sitting at home right now because there's only 32 people that get to be a punter, and there's so many people out of college football who could punt 50 yards. There's people who don't even have to punt in their life. They come from soccer, from Europe, and they're NFL quality punters.
You know who's an NFL quality punter that never tried, but he could have been an NFL punter?
Matthew Crivette.
Whenever he didn't want to play football anymore, he would punt the ball 50 yards onto the rooftops.
Yeah, my brother could have been an NFL punter because with no training, no stretching, he was able to punt 40 yards.
I mean, without even trying, man.
Not even trying.
Huh. He said, "I don't want to play football." Oh, that's my Saleh interpretation. That's not the Matthew interpretation.
Yeah. Anyway, Braden Mann will be the easiest upgrade we make all offseason. Easiest upgrade. Just bring in 5 guys from college who never got a chance. And take the best one, and you've upgraded your punter situation.
So in summary, we had a number of things, right? Saleh brain farting at the end, not calling timeouts.
That was the worst because of all the things that we could have overcome the whole thing if Saleh just would have acted like a real head coach and called a timeout.
Right, we had some errant passing when we needed passing. We had a lack of running. The offensive line wasn't there. The defense, that last play where they got fooled. They got fooled on defense in that play. The punt. I mean, so many things, and we were still in the damn game.
It's amazing. That's why I can't believe people are attacking our defense. Because when you consider all the mistakes and all the horrendous things that happened, the fact that we weren't blown out is only because the only thing we have is a defense.
That's true. The reason people are frustrated is because we obviously had no rush. We had no rush. You know, we had no we didn't pressure Goff hardly at all. Number one.
Second half we did.
Oh, definitely we stepped it up. but they didn't score as much, right? And then that last play where they got fooled, you know.
And Joe Grana brings up a good point. There's one other thing of why we lost, and as again, the referees made a call against us that game-changing,
Yes.
where it was a non-call, a game-changing non-call,
Yes.
because in the first drive of the game, Garrett Wilson was held
Without
and
a doubt.
interfered with.
You can see the hug.
He literally hugged him and closed his hands and grabbed him. And you saw him take him off the path of the ball. It was clear that it was the definition of pass interference. Because they didn't call it. If they call pass interference, we get the ball to 20-yard line, first down. We don't punt out of the end zone. They don't score a touchdown. So the referee's lack of a call of pass interference is another key reason why we lost the game.
But so there's a bunch
of things. But look at all the things that lost us the game or hurt us from winning the game, yet we still came within inches of winning it.
Yeah, and it was also the same thing last week. That drop pass by Berrios, the fumbles, The problem is it's always something.
Yeah.
But here's the good thing.
Every week we're sitting here pointing out the things that, but you know what really needs to happen? We need to be like San Francisco, because we have the same schemes as them. We need to be like San Francisco, where these little things don't cost you a game because we win by 2 touchdowns.
So here's the good news, Jeremy. You're right. Here's the good thing. Okay. The good thing is that we sucked last year. We sucked. We were near the bottom for years. We're now in a place. We're now in a place where we're like talking about 1 or 2 plays a game. That is now the question is, can we solve that? Right? I think we can, because it's year 2 of a rebuilding. We are not done. We are not done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's year 2, and we didn't think we'd be even at this place until year 3.
No, we're not done. We're not done because look, the quarterback thing is the hardest part about all this, because not knowing who our quarterback's going to be and not knowing if we're going to get good enough quarterback play to be a serious contender. That's this team. That's the biggest problem we have as a team.
Agreed.
Everything
That's the biggest
else,
single problem.
It's the biggest single problem. The
it's
quarterback,
not the biggest problem necessarily next game, because we have other issues.
Right. The overall problem for this team and the goal of being a Super Bowl team and the goal of being 5-6 years of being one of the top teams in the NFL that competes for Super Bowls is that our quarterback is a big question mark, right? So obviously that's the problem. That's the hole. That's the thing that we have to resolve and solve. Everything else is beautiful. We have young defensive players that are fantastic. We have young offensive players that are fantastic. We have a core that's really, really good. And we have a GM, a general manager, that is proven, at least outside of quarterback, that can continually bring in quality players, and he knows how to pull off trades. He knows how to gain draft capital. He knows how to trade well. He knows how to acquire good free agents. He knows how to draft. So everything in this organization is right, pretty much. We just need to get the quarterback situation resolved.
We actually have a next man up system that is working.
Yeah.
Like they're not as good. The people that come up aren't as good. They're a step behind, but we're still in these games through the year-ending injuries to people, and we're still in the game. We have a system. Bottom line,
yeah.
And these other things, like as I said, Saleh's going to apologize. He's going to say it's on him, and we're going to move on. And he's going to be better. He's going to be better. And
I think it's the special teams job, coach responsibility to call timeouts. And if that's true, if that's his personal guy that he uses, that guy's in trouble, because that's 2 punt returns for touchdowns. And if that guy failed him and failed to go over and say, we need to call a timeout now, then what do we need you for? What's your purpose on this team?
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what they say. Right.
Yeah, look, the hardest part is it's really hard to imagine. Like the Jacksonville game, it's Thursday night. It's going to be weird. It is what it is. Seattle, they're not a great team, so we'll see. It is what it is. We'll see how these games go. But, man, the Miami game, man, they're going to just crush us.
No.
They're gonna
No,
kill us. They
no,
have no quarterback. I mean, what are we
no,
gonna
no, no, no team. Which team were what game? And even with Zach starting, were we killed in the last 7 or 8?
You're right. Okay, maybe we could hold them. I mean,
It's a
it's going to be
tough,
hard.
tough
It's going to be really
defense.
hard.
It's a tough, tough defense. The defense is Come on, Detroit has a great offense, and we held them, even with our offense sucking, not being bad.
It's just
So-
it's just hard to watch them with Tua and everything the Jet fans said about Tua. And Tua is like if I could trade Zach Wilson for Tua, oh my god, like there wouldn't even be a hesitation. Here's Zach Wilson. We get Tua. Thank you very much. Pleasure doing business with you. Be the greatest thing in the world. Like we put down Tua, but man, would we love to have Tua right now? If you're, like he's so much better than Zach Wilson. It's disgusting. And people say it's the system. Well, guess what? We run the similar system to Miami. It's like they got the 49ers other offensive guy. So it's like, okay, it's fine. He knows how to run. Like even if you believe it's in systems, guess what? The system that Tua is doing well in means he could do well in our system.
Yeah, so
not gonna
Jeremy, going back to we need a quarterback. We know we have an interesting quarterback challenge. We've talked about it. We don't know where we're going to be next year. We really don't. We don't know where we're going to be tomorrow on Thursday. If White was healthy, I think he would be in there. That being said, should we be drafting a quarterback? You asked next year. I say yes. Yes.
First round.
Yes. Are what we think is the best, not like I think we need to find the sleeper guy. We need to find the quarterback that will be available to us that we think has the skills we need. I guess like we did with Zach, right? And we need to give it a shot. And I think we need to maybe do it the year after. We need to find the guy. That's the most important thing. We have a team. Now we need the guy.
Yeah. That's what it's just frustrating because to me, there's no guarantee of finding it. That's what's so hard.
I know it's so hard.
I believed when we drafted Zach, it was over. I thought, oh, it's finally over. I thought he was the guy. And it's so hard to that's why I think a lot of people are having trouble letting go.
Well,
I'm found your quarterback. It's so hard to let go.
Where are you at? If you were like 100% confident he's the guy, I know you're not there, and you're 0%. That's where you're cutting him already. I think I'm at 20%, maybe 25.
That's amazingly high at this point. At this point, only because it's never happened. We're getting more and more into the it's never happened ever in the history of the NFL. I mean, you have to search to find players that have been this bad overall performance that have turned it around and had good careers. It's happened. It's not impossible. I'd say I'd like to jump to 5 and say 5, but it's not true. I would say 10. I'm not that far off of you. Even 10 to 12%, maybe 12%. If 12%. I have a 12% hope that Zach Wilson could be the guy.
Look, when here's why I'm at 20 to 25. Okay, when Flacco went in last week, he was destroyed, and he has been a Super Bowl NFL quarterback. He was destroyed, and Zach wasn't destroyed, and it was bad today. It was bad. The offensive line today was bad.
Yeah. Oh man, I think that we're going to win another game this year. I do. I think we're going to win another game. I definitely think we're going to win another game. I think the worst we're going to be is 8-9, and I think we're probably going to finish 9-8. Somehow I'm still being optimistic. I don't know how. We're going to win one of the next two, and we're going to pull an upset against Miami. Or
you said we're going to get killed against Miami.
I don't know. I don't. I mean, look, we're not going to go 7-10. I don't believe it. I think 8-9 is our worst. 9-8 is our better. I think it's going to be either we're 8 or 9 or 9 or 8. It's going to be 9-8, 8 or 9. It's going to be That's where we are. We're not winning 10 games. We're not losing 7 games. We're going to win either 8 or 9 games. And that's exactly what I think I predicted in the beginning of the year.
I think at one point 11.
At one point. Yeah, but that was the, hype.
Let me ask you a question that's totally different topic. And then I have to go. I was going to go 5 minutes ago, but Garrett Wilson is rolling his eyes. It looks like, big eye rolls, like throwing up his hands like you're an idiot, Zach. When Zach misses him, it looks like it, at least to me.
Yeah.
So when I worked in business, that was just unacceptable. Like, yes, you're a star, but you can't roll your eyes at other people on the team. You've got to support them. Like, that's a talking to. Even if you're the star person on my teams in business, you can't dish out dirt on other players during the game. You got to maintain something. What do you think about that?
I said it during the watch party with Green Bay, and I said, look, I don't care if he's right. I don't care if it was a horrible pass. I said, I don't care who he is. I go, that's not okay.
Not okay.
I go, throwing and flailing his arms up is not a good look.
They've got to talk to him.
Not okay. It is not acceptable at all. And if we get eliminated from the playoffs and still have a game left or 2 games left, and he does that, we should bench him.
It's like a diva move, and we can't have a diva on the team, and we love him. We love him.
I'm getting worried that he's already a diva because he's already doing that crap. He's already like throwing his hands up, and that is awful.
So the reason I mentioned
horrible teammate type thing to do.
The reason I mention it is because that is worrying me. It is worrying me that he's doing that.
Yeah,
I love the fact that he loves Mike White, but every quarterback, whoever's wearing the green in the QB position, they're wearing the green and white. You are their biggest fan if you're their receiver.
Yeah, it's extremely toxic. Chris Bradigan in the chat has the right word for it. It's toxic. It's absolutely the worst kind of teammate you could be. So flail your arms up there and do that.
And I understand he's frustrated and he wants to win.
Doesn't matter.
He's still an adult. He's still got to be an adult.
There's no excuse for it. It's a team. There's no excuse for it. You cannot justify that. You can't justify it. You can't throw your arms up and do that. You can't. It's a team game. You have to support. You could feel that way inside. You could be frustrated inside, and you could trust that your coaches will eventually address the situation. But you can't sit there and do that during a game. You're killing your team. Teams lose games because of that. When that happens, that's called a breakdown.
If you break apart, then we're not ahead of schedule.
You're literally leading the crumbling of your team.
Yeah, the locker room must be maintained. It's the most important thing, and Saleh will probably do something about it.
Hopefully.
Maybe he just talks to him this time.
Who knows? I mean, it's the second time he's done it. So
yeah, maybe the first time he gave him a pass, right? This time he's got to talk to him.
Serious talk.
Yeah,
like this, So because
my bro, I gotta go.
Okay, well, guys. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up because Lee has to go. You saw a reaction show, all the reasons why we lost the game, but the number one reason why we lost the game is because we didn't go out and win the game. And at the end of the day, that's the problem.
I had a video where I just said we don't know. We don't know how to win. I know we won some, but we really don't know how to win. We know how to play a football now, which is great, but.
Yeah, so you need to not spill the candy in the lounge, and we'll shoot that video out as soon as it's ready to go, so people can watch it. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. It was a painful game. It hurts. We're all hurting, but hey, man, at least we're relevant in December. At least I'm not doing mock drafts right now because that's where we were last year. So there's that. So take care, everybody. I will leave you with, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even.
But before you do, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Go Jets.
Go Jets. Greatest co-host in the world.
VK99. Get ready to rumble!
The tag team champions of the world.
My brotherly crevasse.
That is the best intro I have ever received.
The world. The Buffalo Jets man.
Yo.
George Fant is a barely above replacement level, pretty good left tackle.
How can you say
Compare
that when
that
he
to
was
an-
top 3 in sack percentage last year for left tackles?
And I think when in doubt, until you have better reason, go with the optimistic view. And our defensive line is going to be giving a lot of people some trouble.
But yeah, it's got to be. I'm with you. I don't like the Nathan's fries when they're like floppy. It's got to be like done really well. You know, it's very hard to teach 6'3" and 4'3" speed. That's very rare. The talent's there. He's just got to put it together mentally.
Right.
To get
You're a
on
cheater.
you, I'm a cheater.